Hello guys, I introduce my name first. So I'm Camille Laping and I will be the one to explain our topic, and it's all about youth. So what is youth? The time of life when one is young and often means the time between childhood and adulthood, the period between childhood and maturity. Current situation. Today, there are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years, accounting for 16% of global population. The active engagement of youth is sustainable development effort and central to achieving sustainable, inclusive, and stable society by the target date, and to averting towards threats and challenges to sustainable development, including the impacts of climate change, unemployment, puberty, gender inequality, conflict, and migration.
Agrees on youth. In school youth, a youth who is within the age of compulsory school attendance but has not attended school for at least the most recent complete school year calendar quarter. General to be eligible to participate in activities carried out under this subpart during any program year, an individual shall, at the time the eligibility determination is made, be an out-of-school youth or an in-school youth. Out-of-school youth is the subchapter. The term out-of-school youth means an individual who is not attending any school as defined under state law, not younger than age 16 or older than age 24, and one or more of the following: a school dropout, a youth who is within the age of compulsory school attendance but has not attending school for at least the most recent complete school year calendar quarter. Out of school youth is defined in the PLEMS as a person aged 6 to 14 years who are not attending school, while out of school youth as person aged 15 to 24 years who are not attending school, have not finished any college or post-secondary course, and are not working. The result of this study revealed that the problem of the out-of-school children and youth include low quality of life, lack of life skill and social skill, and behavior problems. The causes are puberty, low achievement in school, and behavior issue which cause dismissal from school. Youth. A youth worker is a person whose job involves providing support and social activities for young people, especially young people from poor backgrounds. The purpose of the youth work is to enable young people to develop holistically, working with them to facilitate their personal, social, and educational development, to enable to them develop their voice, influence, and place in society, and to reach their full potential. Among this great youth worker is that they create strong trusting relationship with young people. Being able to build that trust with youth is the key to being a great youth worker. Without trust, there can be short-term improvement, but with trust, young people feel safe to drop their defensive and are open to feedback when making mistakes and encouragement about the future. Only then will long-term improvement occur. Youth with disabilities who receive services from the social service system, for example, foster care, juvenile justice, are at an even greater risk for negative outcomes. Youth with disabilities who receive services from the social service system, for example, foster care, juvenile justice, are at an even greater risk for negative outcomes. They frequently have multiple stresses to face while also transitioning into adulthood. The repeated exposure to stress and risk factor requires special attention when developing and implementing service for special population youth with disabilities.
Will be the one to tackle the issue on youth. So teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is when a woman 20 gets pregnant, and usually refers to teen between the age of 15 to 19, but it can include girls as young as 10.
It's also called teen pregnancy or adolescence pregnancy. Refers to female adolescents becoming pregnant between the age of 13 to 19. These young females have not reached adulthood and the cause of teenage pregnancy is very greatly. Teenage pregnancy may be linked to things such as a lack of education and information about the reproduction, peer pressure, and early engagement of sexual activity. Although some teenage pregnancy are intentional, the majority of them are unintentional and to lead many negative outcomes for the teenage mother, the child, as well as other family and peers. Teenage mothers generally do not have the resources to care for a child, and often they are not able to sustain healthy habits throughout pregnancy to ensure they produce a healthy baby. These young females often do not complete their education, and they begin a perpetual circle in which their child may further go on to become a teenage parents as well.
Social media addiction. Social media addiction is a behavior addiction that is defined by being overly concerned about social media, driven by uncontrollable urge to log on to or use social media and devoting so much time and effort to social media that is impair other important life areas. Social media is the most well-known around the world that is now the subject of almost every conversation. People crave interaction and connection with other people. This is the main reason why social media has become popular around the world. Ever since the pandemic started, a lot of people become more addicted to Facebook. Usually, almost among of them are young people. They give all their time to social media and become the reason why they get tired easily. The allotted time they have got for their classes are wasted for some activities on Facebook. They are lack of energy, and for the most of part of it, they have deficiency in terms of talking about education. Since they are hectic of spending a lot of time in social media, and also they are no longer sound asleep, whether young or old people have become addicted to social media. When these results are compared in 2021 online classes, the ratio of young people is very different. In general, there are more males than females who most likely to join social media. The productivity of the student when using social media are more expected to use by student all the time. When the class is boring yet it is served, that is they are most like to use social media in terms of asking something or for communication purpose, especially in our generation today. A lot of youth are spending their time through social media, especially young people. This is so broad in our country, but not also in our country, but all over the world. And the teenager who most likely use social media and spend their time, it feels such as a peer pressure, physical and sexual abuse, early exposure to drugs, stress, and parental guidance, and greatly affect person likelihood of drugs and addiction development. Genetics and environment factors interact with critical developmental stage and person life is affect addiction risks. Drug and alcohol abuse, the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription or the over-the-counter drugs for purpose other than those for which they are meant to be used or excessive amounts. Alcohol abuse, also called alcohol misuse, is a serious problem. It is a pattern of drinking too much alcohol too often. Alcoholism increases the likelihood of developing co-occurring conditions such as a substance use disorder. Mixing alcohol and other drugs together can lead to serious physical, behavior, and health complications. Not only can drinking and drugs increase the effects of each substance, it can also trigger dangerous interaction. Individuals who abuse alcohol are also more likely to abuse other substances like prescription or illicit drugs. And you can feel such as a peer pressure, physical and sexual abuse. Early exposure to drugs, stress, and parental guidance can greatly affect the personal likelihood of the drugs use and addiction. Developing genetic and environmental factors interact with critical developmental stage in a person's life to affect addiction risk. Bullying. Bullying is ongoing and deliberate misuse of the power in relationship to repeated verbal, physical, and social behavior that intends to cause physical, social, and or psychological harms. It can involve an individual or a group misusing their power or perceived power over one or more person who feels unable to stop it from happening. Like all forms of bullying, cyberbullying causes psychological, emotional, and physical stress. Each person's response to being bullied is unique, but research has shown some general tendencies. Stop bullying reports that youth who are bullied have a higher risk of depression and anxiety. Juvenile delinquency. Juvenile delinquency refers to antisocial or criminal activity of the child below 18 years of age, which violates the law of Juvenile Justice Act 2000. Some of these offenses or felonies may include sexual crimes, homicide, violence crimes, and drug and property violation. Teens become juvenile delinquency due to the lack of finances. When they experience poor economic condition, they start engaging in the wrong activities. They may start selling drugs or steal things to improve their economic condition, and that is the main reason why a lot of young people are still using drugs because of their problem, and juvenile delinquency are still exists.
Hey everyone, my name is Kathleen De Leon and I'm going to continue the last three issues in the youth. So the other issue for the youth is the mental health. So mental health is also called mental health disorders, which refers to a wide range of mental health conditions, disorders that affect your mood, thinking, and behavior. The most common mental illness in adolescents are anxiety, mood attention, and behavior disorders. So in mental health, the common sources of stress in adolescents are social stress, isolation, or substance abuse. Other common sources of stress include trauma. It's either emotional, sexual, or physical abuse. So the other issue that we are going to tackle is the family problems. So because of the family problems that the youth is experiencing, some children and adolescents may act out by showing increased aggression, defiance, and behavioral problems. So the most common problems in the family is not having money for basic necessities like food, clothing, shelter, medicine, and other conflicts. Harsh attitude of parents and excessive punishment to children can also cause family conflicts. So family problems would most likely have an effect to the youth, like they would have symptoms like anxiety, depression, speech defects, and stress. So these symptoms distract kids from their schooling, making it more difficult to focus on schoolwork. And even with divorced parents, the fighting can still go on and even get worse. The last issue that we're going to tackle about the issues in the youth is the academic pressure. So academic pressure is an academic stress which involves mental and distress regarding anticipated academic challenges or failure, or even the fear of the possibility of academic failure. Academic stress affect youth because I think they will scared that they may disappoint their parents if they got low grades or scores in school. So excessive levels of academic stress can result in an increased prevalence of psychological and physical problems like depression, anxiety, nervousness, and stress-related disorders, which in turn can affect their academic results. So hi again everyone, it's me again, Kathleen De Leon, and now we're going to tackle about the needs of the youth. The first one is the youth empowerment. So youth empowerment is a process to encourage youth by all means. It is an effort towards making a course for them to sustain and adapt as per situations. It aims at improving the quality life of youth are living and bring empowerment by giving them access to the resources which can help them to build confidence and work in the direction of attaining growth and transformation. The second one is the youth development. So youth development is a process that prepares a young person to meet the challenges of adolescence and adulthood to achieve his or her full potential. Youth development is promoted through activities and experiences that help youth develop social, ethical, emotional, physical, and cognitive competencies. The third one is the youth leadership. So, it is a part of youth development process and support the young person in developing the ability to analyze his or her own strengths and weaknesses, set personal and vocational goals, and have the self-esteem, confidence, motivation, and abilities to carry them out, including the ability to establish support networks in order to fully participate in community life and effective positive social change. Youth leadership also tackles the ability to guide or direct others on a course of action, influence and opinions and behavior of others, and serve as a role model. The need for self-worth and personal identity. A variety of experiences shape self-worth and personal identity, two issues that need careful attention in work with youth who often see themselves as unworthy and incapable of measuring up. Our society's emphasis on competition and achievement, the dilemma between having and not having, the media images of perfection, and adult expectations contribute to the young people's negative feelings about themselves. The need for relationships. Personal identity is linked to a sense of belonging to a group. Young people need relationships with one another, with adults, and with God. Friendship making and group decision making skills are important. Exposure to various styles of family life, persons of different ages, and adult mentors can help young people feel important and needed. The need for time. Sometimes adults appear to have too little time for young people. Unfortunately, many young people also have too little time for themselves. Yet, growing up takes time, pressure-free time to observe, participate, reflect, and question repeatedly amid dramatic physical, emotional, and spiritual changes. Having time for personal growth in the context of patient love is essential to emotional well-being. The next one is the belonging. So developing a sense of belonging is important for children and young people to develop self-confidence and a sense of identity. Teens need to feel a sense of belonging to feel good about who they are. Teens gain of their identity from people they spend time with because these people often reflect similar interests and beliefs. The next one is independence. So independence is the ultimate goal of adolescence, even though it's sometimes hard for parents to think about letting go of their child. Independence for teenagers is about trying new things, taking on more responsibility, making decisions by themselves, and working out who they are and what they want to be. Achieving independence is an essential part of your child's journey towards adulthood. So the next one is achievement. So achievement is an important part of a child's development because it leads them to be an effective, developing a sense of mastery over his environment. Through achievement, it develops them to have positive self-esteem, feeling of acceptance, adequacy, and self-worth. So the other need of youth is about having new experiences. So trying new things does not only helps every one of us to vanquish those fears, but it also allows us to expand our minds and learn, both about said new thing and about ourselves. New experiences enable each one of us to learn one of the most important, because basic lessons of early life, learning how to learn, and learning that mystery brings joy and a sense of achievement. The last one is the affection. So why does the youth need affection? So some studies prove that the lack of parental warmth and love can make children more stressed since parents put too much pressure on them to succeed without balancing it with affection. Love and affection can help children to feel secure regardless of accomplishments. This builds their confidence and self-esteem.
Right to equality. All human beings are born free and equal. According to equality, equality assumes that everyone has the same rights and is entitled to the same level of respect. Everyone has the right to be treated fairly. This means that laws, rules, and programs should not be discriminatory, and that public authority should not apply or enforce them in discriminatory or arbitrary manner. Sometimes it may be necessary to treat people differently to achieve equality. This is because differences between people may make it difficult for them to enjoy their rights without support. Right to education. The right to education is fundamental human right. Every individual, irrespective of race, gender, nationality, ethnic or social origin, religion or political preference, age or disability, is entitled to a free elemental education. Education is fundamental human right and essential for the exercise of all other human rights. It promotes individual freedom and empowerment and yields important development benefits. Education is a powerful tool by which economically and socially marginalized adults and children can lift themselves out of poverty and participate fully as citizens. Right to organize. It is a human right for employees to have the ability to come together and strive for the better good in the location where they spend most of their valuable time, the workplace. Workers spend countless hours at the job, yet there is consistently an economic advantage that can be used by the employer to keep in mind. Although the employer has the economic upper hand, workers should still be able to exercise their rights without fear. The right to organize is preserved in theory by the National Labor Relations Act, but unfortunately, not in reality. Many groups of workers, including domestic workers, agricultural workers, managers, and supervisors, are excluded from coverage. The workers who are not protected are usually in the worst position and deserve the law's refuge. They can be fired for trying to organize or for anything for that matter. Right to participate in youth programs and policy development. Participation is a fundamental right. It is one of the guiding principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that has been reiterated in many other conventions and declarations. Through active participation, young people are empowered to play a vital role in their own development as well as in that of their communities, helping them to learn vital life skills, develop knowledge on human rights and citizenship, and to promote positive civic action. To participate effectively, young people must be given the proper tools such as information, education about, and access to other civil rights. Right to actively participate in the task of nation building. This is to enable the youth to fulfill their vital role in nation building and hereby establishes the National Comprehensive and Coordinated Program on Youth Development, creates the structures to implement the same and appropriates adequate funds to provide support for the program and implementing structures on accounting sustained basis. Right to be brought up in the spirit of peace, justice, freedom, mutual respect, and understanding. Youth people should A young people shall be brought up in the spirit of peace, justice, freedom, mutual respect, and understanding in order to promote equal rights for all human beings and all nations. Economic and social progress, disarmament, and the maintenance of international peace and security. Young people shall be brought up in the knowledge of the dignity and equality of all individuals, without distinction as to race, color, ethnic origins, or beliefs, and in respect for fundamental human rights and for the right of peoples to self-determination.
Now we're going to proceed with the laws for youth, and we're going to start with the local and national laws. So the first law is the Republic Act 8044, or also known as Youth in Nation Building Act. It is an act creating the National Youth Commission, establishing a national comprehensive and coordinated program on youth development, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes. So the Republic Act 8044, which seeks to enable, promote, and ensure the youth's active, meaningful, and holistic participation in society in furtherance of the rights and welfare. The next one is the Republic Act 9344, or also known as Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. It defines the juvenile justice and welfare system as a system dealing with children at risk and children in conflict with the law, which provides child-appropriate proceedings, including programs and services for prevention, diversion, rehabilitation, reintegration, and aftercare to ensure their normal growth and development. So this Republic Act 9344 is institutionalized the promotion of the well-being of child and their families, involvement of parents and guardians, promotion of diversion, avoiding deprivation of liberty, and protecting the privacy rights of children. The next one is the Republic Act 7610, or the also known as Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. It is an act providing for stronger deterrence and special protection against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination, providing penalties for its violation and for other purposes. It is a law that protects all children in the Philippines and Filipino children elsewhere from all forms of violence, abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. The last one for the national or local laws is the Republic Act 9262, or also known as Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. It is an act defining violence against women and their children, providing for protective measures for victims, prescribing penalties, therefore, and for other purposes. The Republic Act 9262 is hereby declared that the state values the dignity of women and children and guarantees full respect for human rights. It is also recognizes the need to protect the family and its members, particularly women and children, from violence and threats to their personal and safety and security. Republic Act 6655, or also known as the Free Public Secondary Education Act of 1988. It is an act establishing and providing for a free public or secondary education and for other purposes. It is the policy of the state to provide for a free public secondary education to all qualified citizens and to promote quality education at all levels. Specifically, through Republic Act 6655, secondary students enrolled in national high schools, trade, technical, vocational, agricultural schools, and other high schools funded by local government units are able to get free tuition and other school fees. In this way, it can encourage the youth to continue to go into school despite their social standing. This law can also help decrease the number of out-of-school youth. Next is the RA 6425, or also known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972. The law mandates the Dangerous Drugs Board to be the policy and strategy making body that plans and formulates programs on drug prevention and controls. Most drug users develop their substance in their teens. In the Philippines alone, nearly half of drug abuse cases reportedly start from 15 to 19 years old, the Dangerous Drug Board says. Some teens may end up trying different drugs out of curiosity, peer pressure, mental health problems, social isolation, permissive parenting, and the absence of strict measures and support programs designed to help teens stay clean. As a result, they may end up becoming addicted later on in life. Thus, it is important for parents and the school and the community to recognize the warning signs and intervene early to prevent drug abuse from turning into an addiction. So for those who violate the law may have a punishment of imprisonment ranging from 4 to 8 years. In this way, the use of illegal drugs will be controlled as well as the involvement of youth. The last one is the Presidential Decree 603, or also known as the Child and Youth Welfare Code. It is mandated to coordinate the implementation and enforcement of all laws, formulate, monitor, and evaluate policies and programs and measures for children. The child shall enjoy special protection and shall be given opportunities and facilities by law and by other means to ensure and enable his fullest development in physically, mentally, emotionally, morally, spiritually, and socially in a healthy and normal manner and in conditions of freedom and dignity.
Hello, I am Stephen Lepe, and I will discuss about the international laws. The first is Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection Act 2000. An act to consolidate and amend the law relating to juveniles in conflict with law and children in need of care and protection by providing for proper care, protection, and treatment by catering to their development needs and by adopting a child-friendly approach in the adjudication and disposition of matters in the best interest of children and for their ultimate rehabilitation through various institutions established under this enactment. It defines the legal framework in which juveniles below 18 years old in India can appear before a judge. Juveniles in conflict with the law must be distinguished from children in need of care and protection. The Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015 has come into force from January 15, 2016 and repeals the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000. Who are juveniles? A juvenile is a child or a young person who is not yet old enough to be regarded as an adult. The second international law is Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, an act to prohibit the engagement of children in certain employments and to regulate the conditions of work of children in certain other employments. It aims to eradicate any kind of child abuse in the form of employment and prohibit the engagement of children in any kind of hazardous employment who have not completed 14 years of age. The act prohibits the employment of children in certain occupations and processes. The last international law is ILO Minimum Age Convention number 138. ILO means International Labor Organization. ILO Minimum Age Convention number 138 establishes 15 years as the minimum age for work, though in some cases, 14 years is allowed for a specified period of time. The minimum age for work that is likely to jeopardize the health, safety, or morals of young person is 18, while light work that does not harm health or school work is allowed for children aged 13 to 15. The Minimum Age Convention number 138 was adopted in 1973 and became effective in June 1976. The convention requires state parties specify a minimum age for labor as a mechanism to abolish child labor. The minimum age specified by the convention is 15 years. However, state parties are allowed to set 14 years as a minimum age if restricted to a certain amount of time. The convention allows younger children 15 years to engage in light labor. The Committee of Experts is responsible for monitoring and supervising the effective implementation of the convention. State parties must submit a report which reflects on the status of implementation every 3 years. The Minimum Age Convention is part of the 15 core conventions covered under the GSP regulation. That's all. Thank you.